Hello and welcome to the Cabinet of Creations, where you will find horror, beauty and the perfectly imperfect. Hello and welcome. We're tackling a little bit of a different doll repaint today. We're going to turn her to stone. Basically, she's going to become a forgotten statue. So for this one, I didn't need to take the head off or remove the hair or even the factory makeup really, because I knew she was having quite a few coats of paint, different colour paints and pastels. So I used neat PVA and put it on her hair, a few layers until it built up sort of a firmness. Then I went over with OOAK matte acrylic, this lovely warm sort of stony beige colour. Whilst that was drying, I did some beads, and of course I wanted to turn these to, well, appear to turn to stone, so I put these on and then went over them with PVA to glue everything down. Half and half water and PVA, soaked it in a bath of PVA and water, as you can see, eased out the remnants of it and then started wrapping around. I hoped the PVA didn't take away too much of the texture aspect from the material, especially this blue one here, and luckily it didn't. When it dried and painted and all this, that and the other, you can still see the actual most of the texture on the blue material, which I was really pleased about. Here I am just making a bouquet. These are actually ready bought, which I've had for a while, kind of like roses. And I'm just cutting some bits of paper, sticking them on, and by the time I've gone over them with super glue, they become quite hard as well, which is great because I wanted to give that the appearance of being carved in stone as well, or marble. Just gluing some metal from my local little bead shop. This beautiful wooden base. I took some normal PVA and then, I mean, in hindsight I probably should have done this first before putting the statue down, but you know, like challenges and all that. So PVA, put on some of my little builder's grit and sand that I've collected. Here we go. And that was a bit of a waste of time anyway, because most of it was covered with fake grass, but at least we know it's there. Once things are dried, I'm just giving it a coat or so of matte acrylic paint. I know this is quite browny to be a statue, but I guess I sort of thought it might give it a bit of a warm undertone if I was to have any sort of bits missing or any bits exposed. Again, I've never done one of these before, so it's just experimenting really. It's only paint. If it all goes wrong, just do another layer. So nothing ventured, nothing gained. It's going in with more of a, I guess, a stony colour now with a light warm grey. So I was cutting the bits of faux grass and bits ended up everywhere. Trust me, everywhere. On my arm, I would have choked on one that landed in my tea. One flicked onto Reggie whilst he was sleeping, and I'm guessing some even made it onto the moon. That's how far it would get everywhere. Just going in with the wash now of watered down black acrylic. I just let it run naturally into all the cracks and crevices where dirt, you know, from rainwater and leaves and things like that may have collected. want some to appear as though it's like rain stains, you know, over time, constantly being rained on. When it dries, is the effect that it leaves, and you could just about see the texture through the paint as well, which I'm really pleased about. Just going in with a fairly dry brush now of some kind of moss colour. And I feel as though the fake grass is a little bit too green and fresh and lush for my liking, so I'm just going in with some Panpastels brown just to give it a little bit more of an age, oldie dead sort of almost effect. And you can see here, because of the fake grass has got the rubber on, you can kind of see it, so I had to make a little bit of a border, which I made out of lollipop sticks and painted the same colour as the base, and it just contains it nicely then. Going in with Panpastels, a little bit of grey, just over the bits where I thought it might be too green, or just where I fancied really. And now this is a face up sort of, with a difference, no eyeballs. I've looked at a lot of statues, some do have eyeballs, some don't. On this one, I thought if I leave the eyeballs out, the irises and pupils, it might give it a bit more of a mystical effect. And I think it does. There's nothing there, you know, gateway to the soul, yet there isn't any eyes there. It's a bit more mythical and magical, I think. And mysterious. Blender, just to soften some of those harsh lines. I was contemplating whether or not to give her any eyebrows. I figured these may have been, if she was a real statue obviously, I figured these may have been sort of etched in, but I just thought they would have been, especially over time, perhaps worn away a bit maybe, I don't know, it probably wouldn't have been a dominant feature. So I thought maybe if I do it in like a moss colour, it would appear as though moss has settled sort of on top of the ridge where the eyebrows are. So that's how I did the eyebrows. I'm just putting some watercolour pencil in the corners and using a wet brush just to drag out some of the colour into thinner lines. Here I'm just using my favourite technique of going in to age something with pastels. Primarily I use black for this, sometimes brown but mostly black. I really want things to stand out, so I'm giving us some depth there with really dark shadows under the hair, under the clothes, etc. And if you think about where dirt and leaves would collect and rot down, which would mainly be behind the bouquet that she's holding in between her arms, I wanted that to be quite dark because that's where things would collect and decay and rot and all sorts. Seems like I'm obsessed with old and decaying and rotting, but I'm not. I just think the aesthetic of it is warranted on this old forgotten statue. I was so excited when this box arrived. Let's do the unboxing. So this, as you're seeing it now, this is the first time I've actually seen it in real life as well. I was so surprised about the amount of stuff that was in there, and I think the prices were quite good. It was recommended by Abandoned Miniatures, and let me just butcher this name. It is from Diorama Presepe. Diorama Epresepi. There we go. Diorama Presepe. Something like that. Diorama Presepe. Yeah, so it's from there, and I've got so much left, and that's why I decided to do yet another background for my doll photographs, and this is going to be a manor house, not so decayed. What, I hear you ask? I know. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit decayed, but it's going to have some of this foliage coming through the window to add a little bit of different interest and aspect to it. So yeah, really pleased with these. Go and check them out, guys. Really, really good. Now this foliage, oh my goodness, it was frigging amazing. I only wanted to use a little bit just so the ground looked sparse on this statue, but I just couldn't stop. It was like I was possessed. I just could not stop putting it on. I think I completely covered the base in the end, but I mean, I like it. I love it, in fact, I do.